Driscoll tried to persuade Europeans to end war in Ukraine as quickly as possible. Agreement first. US sets condition for security guarantees for Ukraine, and how Ukraine capable of stopping Russia with proper Western support. The latest news next. US Army Minister Dan Driscoll told European partners about the growing missile threats from Russia, attempting to persuade them to end the war in Ukraine as soon as possible, according to the New York Times. According to sources, European diplomats were in Kyiv last week to hear how the Trump administration plans to present its peace proposal. During the meeting, Driscoll told them that Moscow had for years been firing missiles at Ukraine as quickly as it could produce them. Now, however, Russia is manufacturing enough to build a growing stockpile of long-range weapons.
The implication was clear, the officials said. A settlement is needed quickly because of a rising missile threat that could deliver a knockout blow to Ukraine and spill over its borders.
As the New York Times reports, while Russia is not expected to significantly reduce its weapons production even if the war ends, halting the conflict would deprive Moscow of a potential pretext to launch missiles or drones at another European country. Western officials who attended Friday's meeting with Driscoll and later spoke to the New York Times described the build-up of Russian capabilities as alarming. They added that Driscoll's warning resonated with them. The newspaper further notes that Washington's assessment that Moscow is stockpiling missiles points to major shifts inside Russia's military-industrial sector. The New York Times clarifies that these findings are supported by Ukrainian military intelligence and analysts' calculations. Analysts say Russia could use its arsenals to further cripple Ukraine's already damaged energy system. In addition, Moscow could exhaust Ukrainian supplies of air defense missiles, leaving cities such as Kyiv increasingly vulnerable. They also warned that Russia may threaten other European states with missile strikes or hybrid attacks. There can be no peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia that forces Ukraine into capitulation. Ukraine must also be able to defend itself in the future, said German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius. Amid renewed diplomatic activity, Pistorius warned against any effort to pressure Ukraine into unilateral territorial concessions. He also dismissed the idea of limiting Ukrainians' military, stressing that the country must be able to protect itself in the future. He noted that this requires a strong army and reliable security guarantees, primarily from the United States. According to him, anything that affects the future of European states, NATO or EU members must not be negotiated over our heads. In other words, we decide our own future, and there must be no fake peace for Ukraine, no peace that amounts to capitulation, he concluded. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said that Russia is showing no willingness to end the war or agree to a peace deal. Pressure on the Kremlin must continue until it is forced to seek peace. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz also stated that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin must not be allowed to end the war with any form of success. Any peace deal would be meaningless without the approval of Europe and Ukraine. The United States wants to first reach a peace agreement before agreeing to any security guarantees for Ukraine, according to Politico. According to a European diplomat and another source, this condition became the key element in the American proposals delivered to Kyiv last week. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, during a phone call with European officials, said that President Donald Trump would agree to long-term security guarantees for Ukraine, but at a later stage. Another European diplomat reported that Rubio spoke about security guarantees for Ukraine during the negotiations in Geneva. However, he did not go into details and did not repeat this proposal during his call with the British and the French. The head of the State Department also broadly mentioned several other issues that must be resolved after the agreement is reached. According to Politico, Europeans understood this to include the matter of territories and Russia's frozen assets. The White House, in turn, insists that any peace plan will include security guarantees. Quote, "The Trump administration has repeatedly affirmed publicly and privately that any deal must provide full security guarantees and deterrence for Ukraine," said spokesperson Anna Kelly. The president's national security team continues to work with both sides to bring this war to a close and deliver a durable, enforceable peace. The U.S. State Department did not respond to Politico's request for comment. The outlet also writes that on Thursday, Rubio told his European counterparts that the United States was not viewed as a fair mediator in the negotiations. The reason, he said, was the Washington was simultaneously supplying military assistance to Ukraine and imposing sanctions on Russia. Speaking more broadly about the peace plan, some European countries fear that the Trump administration could tilt the balance in Russia's favor. Nothing about human rights, humanitarian law, international law, no principles, said a third European diplomat in reference to the peace plans. This is creating a new European security architecture full of holes. Ukraine is capable of halting further Russian advances and stabilizing the front line, provided it receives adequate military support from its Western partners, combined with sanctions, the Institute for the Study of War reports.
Ukrainian forces have proven effective at constraining Russian advances and conducting successful counteroffensives, particularly when well-staffed and well-equipped.
In particular, Ukraine forced Russian troops to withdraw their units from the Kiev region and other areas of northern Ukraine in April 2022, liberated a significant part of the Kharkiv region during the counteroffensive in September and October 2022, and compelled Russia to withdraw from the western bank of the Kherson region in November 2022. ISW analysts note that Ukrainian forces are disproportionately high relative to the amount of gains, forcing the enemy to spend time, manpower, and equipment on exhausting offensive operations. The Institute also recalled that Ukrainian forces thwarted Russian offensives in the northern Kharkiv region and the Sumy region in spring 2024 and in January 2025, respectively. According to analysts, Ukraine forced Russia into positional war, depriving it of the ability to conduct operational maneuvers.
Timely and sufficient Western military assistance and weapon sales to Ukraine, in concert with strong U.S. and other Western economic measures against Russia, can enable Ukraine to stop Russian battlefield advances cold, especially if Ukrainian forces leverage their well-developed fortifications in the Donetsk region.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.